When I was growing up, my parents would get off work. One of them would pick me up from my aunt's house, and we would make our way home, and then we would scrounge around trying to make food for us to eat. And then I would set the table, and I'd get the table all set up in our kitchen, and we would get all seated around the table, and we would turn on the television, and we would watch the evening news. We'd watch a local news, or we'd watch the national news. It was on the TV with the antennas that came out of it. We were attempting to get whatever we could on that particular day, and we would sit there, and our discussions were related to what was going on in the world, what was going on in our neighborhoods, what was going on in our nation. That's how I learned about what was going on in the world. We would finish dinner, we'd put the dishes away, we'd clean the table, we'd clean the countertops, we'd clean everything and be ready to go in our lives, having been informed by what we heard. And then I moved out of the house, and I went, and they invented cable, and we went, and we had a 24-hour news. You could watch it any time of the day or night. So when I would get home from work, I would turn on the television, and in the background I would hear the news playing, and I would learn about what was going on in the world. Then about 10 years ago or so, as I was listening to what was going on in the world, and I was listening to the newscast, I started to say, you know what, I don't really like to listen to the news anymore. I would hear people calling out names and pointing fingers and accusing people of things. I wasn't learning about the world. I was learning about people's insecurities and about what they were thinking about other people, and blaming other people for other things. And I just got so tired of it. I just didn't watch the news anymore. I read the news. I'd open the paper, which was not on a paper anymore. But that's how I was learning about the things that are going on in our world. I wasn't listening to it anymore. I was trying to read it and interpret it. I may not be alone. It's frustrating when we listen to what people say, our leaders are saying, and it's all pointing fingers and accusing and language that you wouldn't use around your dinner table. And it makes me sad. Paul, in his letter to the Ephesians, said the following things. He said, "Let no evil talk come out of your mouths, but only what is useful for building up, as there is need, so that your words may give grace to those who hear." We're not doing a good job living into what Paul was teaching the people of Ephesus. Ephesus was a marketplace. It was the center of commerce. People from all over the world would gather there. They'd come in on their boats, and they would trade things, and the diverse group of people would gather around, and they would point fingers at each other, and they would accuse each other, and they would use language to break people down. And Paul said, "Stop it. You need to do something different with your lives. Stop doing the things that are going to break down community. Instead, build it up. Stop thieving," as he said. Stop using your God-given gifts to make the community worse. He said, "Whatever comes out of your mouth, make it good for all people." We have a lot of work to do. It's not the other person's fault. It's something that we need to work on in our lives. It's a discipline that we've got to practice and how we interact with the world we live in. It's not about pointing fingers. It's not about calling out words of disgust for other people. It's about looking into our hearts and figuring out, how do we live our lives? The first part of it is to realize that everyone is a child of God. Everyone needs our respect. Everyone deserves our respect. What else Paul said in that letter was, hey, when you're angry, let it be known. Don't sleep on it. Don't let it fester. Don't let it grow. Let your anger out in a way that's respectful of other people, using your words to share that with somebody else. Paul also said that you need to think about how you live, the acts that you do. And when you do that, don't think about yourself. Think about how it interacts with the community in which you live, and how you live will serve not you, but the greater good. The last thing he said was, you know what, you do need to have criticism. You can have constructive criticism. This is good. Jennifer thinks this is good. Constructive criticism, making sure that I'm still improving a little bit. We all deserve that in our lives, but it needs to be given in love. It's a gift to be in community and to love each other and to offer insights into how we live together. Paul's teaching in this very short reading that Josh read is telling us about how we need to live. And if we were to live that way, I could turn on the news now and let my daughter learn about the world. If we spoke about each other and about the differences that exist in the world, because there are differences, if we spoke in ways that were respectful and honorable and looking to find the goodness that's in every single person, I could turn on the news and we could have conversations about what's happening in the world around us with my 4-year-old. But right now, I don't. She doesn't know that anything exists beyond our lives. We have a lot of work to do. It's a discipline and a practice, and it's something that we got to do because it's not good for us, but it's good for the world that we live in. So I encourage you to take home your bulletin today, read that passage from Ephesians several times this week, and think of the ways that you live out what Paul is teaching you about how to love your community, how to live together, how to build honor and respect in the ways that you live and in the ways that you speak. Because if we have differences and can deal with them in loving ways, we'll want our children to watch. We'll want them to watch how we wrestle with the things that are going on in our lives. It will make us stronger and better as a community, as a whole. So think about that as you reflect on these scriptures and see how deep in your heart you can make a change to make the world a better place. Amen.